Hi guys, Pete the Wargamer here, and welcome back to another painting tutorial. In this video we're going to be focusing on weathering powders. Now weathering powders or pigments are very versatile material that you can use when painting your miniatures. They're great for creating lots of different things such as dust, streaks, mud and other debris that can build up on your vehicles and also your infantry based miniatures as well. So I'm going to be exploring a few different techniques in this video, and I'll be using Warlord Games Char B1 Bis as the subject. So let's get started. Dust effects and weathering powders in general should be one of the last things to be applied to your miniature. This is because dust and dirt will sit on top of other things such as decals, damage, oil stains and other weathering details. Therefore, by applying it in our final stages, we can ensure a more realistic appearance. Now the miniature I'm using here, as I've already mentioned, is a partly assembled Char B1 Bis from Warlord Games. As you can see, I've already painted the miniature, applied the decals, and have also applied some weathering to the vehicle's surface as well. This miniature is pretty much completed, with the only thing left to add being a final varnish. This is the kind of stage that you want to be at with your miniature before adding any dust or dirt using weathering powders. For this tutorial, I'll be making use of a weathering powder. Most weathering powders are the same, so really the one you use is down to personal preference. The only important thing to consider about your powder is its colour. The powder that I'm using here is a Warpig's Alclad II powder, and the colour that we have here is a good example of the kind of colour that you'll want to find. This light sand colour is perfect for representing the light colour that mud becomes when it is dried and become powdery. If you find that your powder is a little too light, then don't worry, because varnishes can often darken down this colour as well. Applying the powder is very simple. Just take a medium-sized brush, preferably an old one, and dip it into your powder so you get a light coating on your bristles. You can then begin to brush the powder onto the surface of your miniature, paying particular attention to those recesses. It's important to do this as dust will often gather up in corners and crevices where wind and the movement of people or objects can't brush it off. In fact, the hardest part of applying your powder is to decide the areas where dust is more likely to accumulate. On a vehicle which has a flat upper surface like this one, you can expect quite a lot of dust to settle on top of it. This can come from dust clouds which fall and settle on top, or it can come from crew and passengers who are likely to walk or climb around on top of the vehicle, depositing dust and mud from their boots. Therefore, it's a good idea to focus your application of your powder on these areas. For the sloped and vertical areas of the vehicle, you'll want to consider the effect gravity will have on the dust. As it dries and settles, it's likely to run off these kind of surfaces and only accumulate should something get in the way of its path to the ground. In addition to applying your dust to the hull of a tank, you can also apply it to its tracks. You can go about this in much the same way as you've already done so, just make sure that the dust gets into those recesses between the treads. Now that you've finished applying your powder, you need to fix it in place. If you didn't, then the powders could easily be rubbed or chipped away through use, and for this task I would recommend using a pigment binder, but if you don't have access to one, then a brush on matte varnish could be used as a substitute. To apply the binder, you will want to load up a brush and place the brush over the pigment. Allow the binder to be pulled from the brush rather than painting it on, as you don't want to dislodge the pigment from where you've applied it. After you've applied the binder to the recesses, I would recommend allowing it to dry completely overnight. Don't worry too much about the light dust which is built up on the flat surfaces, as this can be fixed into place with a spray-on varnish later. And here we have the finished tank. I've completed the assembly and have sprayed the whole miniature with a matte varnish to ensure that any remaining pigment is fixed into place. You can also better see the dusty appearance now that the glossiness of the surface has been removed. Now, whilst I've used a World War II vehicle in this tutorial, you could easily apply the same techniques to fantasy and sci-fi miniatures, or even scenery pieces as well. And so that concludes this video on using weathering powders on your miniatures. Hopefully you have a better ideas how you can use them to achieve different weathering techniques, and the best thing to do with these kind of things is just to experiment with them. Use them in different combinations on different paint colours and different paint materials, and just find out what works best. So if you enjoyed this video, please do let me know in the comments below, and also make sure you leave me your suggestions for other kind of videos you would like to see me tackle in the future. Now, if you're interested in supporting this channel and making more content, you can do so by checking out my Patreon page, which you can find a link to in the description below. From there, you can donate to me from as little as $1 a month, which just really helps me in producing future content. So the only thing left to say is thanks for watching and goodbye.